Okay. I suppose I've been like sort of inspired to want to do like some, I don't know, rant talking about my own thoughts about linguistics, language, terms that are used, broadly speaking, throughout the internet. And there's a couple of terms I want to talk about. Like, if anyone in the chat can add more terms, feel free. But I think I have like most of like, I think the three main culprits that I think that I mostly want to focus on in particular. And I guess I will sort of just want to talk about the death of language, I suppose, the death of meaning, the death of I was going to say death of subjectivity, but death of subjectivity kind of has a role to play in here, sort of, more like death of critical thinking. But what streamer Maya Higa, she runs an animal sanctuary. We love that for her. Very good, very based. She's raised $180,000 to restore and fix up her sanctuary after it got damaged by the Texas floods. And, everything was saved. 3IQ dipshit says, what a grifter. And it's just like, immediate first question that I have, it's like, what do you know what the term grifter means? Maya believes in the safety of the environment and the animals. That's like her life's work. She streams and also quite literally talks about I suppose animal factoids and runs an animal sanctuary because she cares about animal safety and cares about animals. Categorically speaking, that is not grifting behavior. Period, end of story. And it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, why is this person saying this? Because she raised a bunch of money? Does this individual think that the Texas floods are fake? Was it created by a Jewish weather device or controlling device or something? Because the floods happened. That's not false. There's been filming of the floods that happened in Kerr County. We can look this up. You can find the videos. I'm just confused. Now, you may be asking yourself, Daho, you should not be engaging with someone who's just doing some low IQ three IQ fucking goddamn terrible attempt at bait or troll. But I reject that. It's like, okay, well, no, I want to think about this. For 3 seconds, because there's something that you can sort of look into here, and it's just why is this being said? Grifter has a very specific meaning. A grifter, generally speaking, what's brought up in political commentary, is an individual who will spout certain beliefs and ideas, not actually care or believe in any of those things in order to, well, appeal to a particular audience, in order to be able to, make money off of them. This is something that is incredibly, incredibly common on the right wing. Very, very common. Most right-wingers tend to be grifters. Lots of them tend to be grifters, especially if they're anti-woke. We'll get to woke, we'll get to woke. If they're anti-woke, they're always grifters. They don't believe in anything, and they hardly understand about any of the topics that they talk about. For example, a very good series that often exposes anti-woke grifters, I would say, is the Exposing the Grift by the Birdman. I would highly recommend. He does a very, very good job as a just sort of well, I almost wanted to say apolitical, but he's not really apolitical. He's more than likely some form of liberal progressive, if I were to tag down his fucking politics. But he's just a dude who just cares more about film critique, which I think is totally fine. And he goes after all the anti-woke grifters who often inject politics when they do their media critique, which is very stupid, generally speaking. But that's a whole different topic, whole different story of that, these sort of Gamergate 2 Electric Boogaloo thing that's coming back. But whatever. We're more talking about the sort of I don't know, death of language here. This individual is saying that Maya is a grifter because she raised a bunch of money for repairs to her sanctuary that suffered damage because of the floods that happened. And in what way is this grifter behavior? I don't understand. When left wingers accuse people of being grifters, okay, let's say, for example, when I accuse Tim Pool of being a fucking grifter, for example, it's because of stuff like the Tenet Media stuff. We can look this up, right? Tenet media, Tim Pool. This is obvious, like, grifting behavior. Quite literally. Like, people like Benny Johnson, people like Tim Pool, accepting Russian money in order to be able to push, like, pro-Russian talking points. Same with, like, Lauren Chen. These people are grifters. They are adopting particular political positions that they may or may not have believed in before. Like, honestly, I don't think it would have been really difficult for, like, Tim Pool to be pro-Russian or, like, Benny Johnson to be pro-Russian because they're, like, conservative dipshits. That's a completely different story. The only reason why they got the money that they did is because they were told to push pro-Russian positions. And you know, Dave Rubin, like, doesn't believe anything because I think he's just like a complete moron. But this is what actual grifting looks like. This is what it is, right? Not this. If we want to talk about a left-wing grifter, like, trying to think of like a good example, like maybe James Somerton, but even then, he's a plagiarist. That's not really grifting. Like, he probably believes in like queer liberation, actually, when he's talking about like queer themings and like movie critique. He just, you know, he can't come up with original critique himself because he's not a very good critic. That's a different story. That's not grifting. That's just him being bad at his job at being a movie critic. And it's just like, okay, who else is like a left-wing grifter? I'm trying to think of like a good example. They exist. I don't think there isn't any, right? I just can't really think of any. Like, it's a lot more difficult for left-wingers to be grifters because you actually have to like believe in stuff. I think most centrists tend to be grifters. Like, I think to be a centrist is like categorically to be a grifter. No, Hassan's not a grifter. I don't think so. No, he genuinely believes in things and stuff. I don't think so. He'll do and say particular things for audience capture, but that's not grifting. That's different. So I'm trying to think, like, not Kyle Kalinske, not really the Chapo Boys. No, they're like genuine like left-leaning people. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, that's the thing, Sacrificial MILF, where you may be falling into the sort of trap here. He may get a lot of money. That doesn't mean he's a grifter, right? He believes in things. I think, like, Hassan genuinely believes in a leftist political project, right? That doesn't make him a grifter. Like, that's the exact opposite of grifter. I'm really hyper-fixating particularly on grifter because, like, for right-wingers, it's like, this is a word that has no meaning. It doesn't mean anything. And, you know, an earlier example of this was the term simp. Everyone used to sort of like use the term simp constantly over and over and over again, right? Like, and you know, it's an acronym. Again, it's you know, black, like AAVE. I was gonna say black vernacular or some shit, like African American vernacular. Sure, or AAV, yada yada. You know what I mean? Shut up. So like, simp. Everyone just uses the term simp. Okay, like for example, if you decide to defend, say, a woman on the internet for whatever reason, okay? You get called a simp, right? Because they don't like that woman. That's not an appropriate usage of the term. That's not how that works. Like do we need to look up the term simp? Because that's also another term that is also lost all fucking goddamn meaning. Like, someone, typically a man, who shows excessive attention and devotion to another person, especially in a romantic or sexual context, often with the expectation of reciprocation. Yeah, like, just because I'm defending, say, for example, Denims or Frogan from Ethan Klein's attacks or some shit. I'm going to use an anecdote here. From Ethan Klein's attacks, because I think Ethan Klein, what he's doing is stupid and fucking idiotic. That doesn't mean I'm a simp. That's not how that term works. A simp would be someone who's like okay, you go into like a particular like say e-girl's fucking goddamn replies, okay? You know, pick a fucking e-girl. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You go into their mentions or whatever, and you see like the same dude constantly posting there saying like, "Oh, you're so attractive. You're so beautiful." That's a fucking simp, okay? That is a simp. That fits that definition. Not like people defending people from certain positions that they disagree with. That's not simp behavior. I'm not in like Frogan's or Denim's fucking comment section every 3 seconds I can saying that like I would like defend them from like anything. No. No, that's not how that works. But again, like for right wingers, since either well, A, they don't understand how like media analysis, B, they can't critically think because their brains are dead, and also death of fucking subjectivity, right? Like they don't understand how people think, so they have to prescribe their thoughts and beliefs onto everyone else and just get mad when someone deviates from that particular path. Simp is now a term that can just basically mean anything. You can be a simp for fucking anything. You can just be like a simp for this, a simp for that, a simp for like whatever. And these are like very commonly used like African and American vernacular that just has lost like all meaning. It doesn't mean anything, right? Like simp has now become someone who just likes a particular thing when it had a very specific definition. This is how language often gets killed, because it very often gets co-opted by a lot of like far right-wing sort of sources and forces, and maybe not even necessarily like, I mean, very often it gets co-opted by like far right-wing sources in order to be able to push particular political agendas, right? This is how language, broadly speaking, dies. I was gonna say, like, the thing that mostly killed simp was what? It was Pewdiepie, right? Pewdiepie is probably the main guy who, I would say, killed the term simp, I think. Like it is a term that doesn't mean anything, right? A simp. Although, honestly, this is a very good... I'll give you this, Pewdiepie. This is a very good example of simp behavior. Was when Mike from PA was trying to simp hardcore for Bad Bunny. That is fucking simp behavior. But... you know, this for example, what this person's saying here, this isn't simp behavior.
For treating women bad, you're all weird. For treating women right, what the f does that mean? Beta, pathetic. Yeah, look at this. Take anyone pointing and yeah, they're your simp. If you have this hair.
See, like, here's the thing, like, I don't think PewDiePie really disagrees with this sentiment. Right? Because I think he's a little bit of a dipshit. But his audience is filled with a lot of fucking goddamn dipshits. And this is something that kills the meaning of the term. It's just like, yeah, this means you're a simp. It's like, I don't think, like, this doesn't mean you're a simp. People will just say, like, yeah, you're a simp now because, you know, you don't treat women like complete fucking dog shit. And PewDiePie, I don't think, is necessarily sort of, like, going along with the sort of definition that it's just, like, yeah, simp means that you just, like, defend women. I think he's mostly, like, criticizing this sort of, like, thing, saying, like, yeah, this is kind of silly. Which I do agree with. It is fucking silly. But, unfortunately, people are really stupid. And they didn't see it that way. People would unironically call this dude a fucking simp just because he doesn't want to treat women poorly. Although, again, I will give you this one, PewDiePie. You were right on calling Mike from PA a simp. Because this was fucking simp behavior. Categorically speaking. But, again, with, like, the memes that he probably, like, goes through here, a lot of them just, like, do not use the appropriate sort of, like, meaning for fucking simp. This Mike from PA here is being a fucking simp. This is clear fucking simp behavior. Saying, like, women shouldn't be treated like shit, saying that is fucking simp behavior, that's not simp behavior. That's just saying, like, yeah, women are also human beings, and you should treat them well, right? Like, that's, like, fine. Like, who gives a shit, right? But, again, to a lot of, like, dipshits on the fucking right, and also, a lot of this was, you know, catalyzed by Gamergate, and more sort of, like, incel culture, generally speaking. A lot of these terms got co-opted, used so frequently, and in completely misappropriate sort of, situations, so much so that the term has basically lost all fucking meaning. simp eventually just transformed into a term that was just used to just kind of like be really annoying and pedantic and just harass people on the internet, like quite literally. And it's just like, God, fucking Jesus Christ. And this is how, again, language dies. Words begin to not mean anything because, again, very specific, like, people in power want to use particular terms, or not even like people in power, but just like people who are dishonest, people who want to just like rabble rouse and troll and just be really stupid and annoying, twist and take terms that have a very specific meaning and just kill it off and make it lose all meaning when it's used in like a particular way that where it's like wholeheartedly inappropriate, right? And the greatest example of this is probably woke. We all know the thing with like the term woke. Woke means fucking nothing nowadays. Like woke can mean like what? Like the actual definition of woke, of basically people being aware of like civil liberties struggles, of being aware of the positions that minorities have in like society and stuff like that, to now it means like you're black, so therefore you're woke. We know like all the anti-woke like grifter types who talk about like woke, like you know, even like Elon Musk. You know, let's just pull up Elon Musk. He's a perfect example. He doesn't understand, like, the term woke to him basically means fucking nothing. He's not even saying woke there. It's really difficult to find a lot of shit because there's going to be all this stupid nonsense about his dumbass bot. But what? The woke left made it impossible to argue that Elon Musk is not African American? Like, what does this even mean? Like, this is like a really good example of like the woke left. What does that mean? To be on the left, you are already like more woke and more aware. It's really, really fucking stupid. Like, what does this mean? It's very, very, very strange. It's like, okay, like I don't really give a shit about that. Like, a term that has lost basically all meaning. If you go through like any fucking goddamn particular like conservative you know, page or channel, and every time they say the term woke, it means nothing. Or like, you know, another good example, how about Grums saying the term woke? The exact moment Blizzard went woke, like, why? Because they decided to show some pride flags or some shit, do like a little like nod to like some random bullshit. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, they got rid of this because they didn't want that in there anymore. Whatever. Okay. Like, this is what I mean, right? This isn't like Blizzard going woke. They just want to be like, yeah, we don't want to cause like a media shitstorm because of these old like paintings that we used to have when we were like more raunchy as like a company like 20 fucking years ago. We just don't want to cause like a media shitstorm, so we're just gonna like change it, and it's like whatever. And like most people didn't really care about this. Like, okay, whatever, who gives a shit? But like, again, we want to talk about like Grums complaining about like the term woke. He's a perfect example of how like the term woke means nothing. Or like another perfect term, like a DEI. DEI basically is just like a substitute for the fucking N-word, quite literally. Like what? Here's Charlie Kirk immediately saying the term DEI kills, and the Texas tragedies is the latest example. A source, any like way that this makes sense? No, he's just complaining. Like, again, the fire chief here is black. That's it. Like, the fire chief is the main reason why the flood killed so many fucking like dipshits or something? No, like the defunding of the NHW, or not the NHW, NWS, right? The National Weather Service, and NOAA, them not being able to put out as many like flood detection systems is quite literally a byproduct of Doge's defunding and cutting of their budget. Like, they weren't able to put as many detection systems as a result. Like are you people for real? This isn't because of like, I don't know, black guy being woke DEI or whatever. Like, it's nonsense. It's stupid, right? And this is like the killing of language. These terms don't mean anything except like whatever like dumbass conservatives say that it is. Like DEI is what? Diversity, equity, inclusion. It's a policy that's been in place since the Reagan era, since the fucking 80s, that essentially says like, hey, if you're hiring people, don't discriminate based off of the names of black people, because it's a thing that happens. It's a thing that still fucking happens. So DEI is just a way to try to deal with that potential problem. Because, again, does Charlie Kirk know the qualifications of this fire chief? No, not at all. He's just saying this as like an attack on like black people. That's why Charlie Kirk is doing this, because he is a racist of first order fucking principle. So again, like this is like mostly the sort of point, like, and the reason for as to why this is happening is because death of like education and critical thinking, broadly speaking, throughout the U.S. and due to like Reagan and Bush cutting education, right? You know, the elimination of the subsidies to universities, making university incredibly expensive and difficult for people to attend, and no child left behind, and also the standardized based testing model, bringing more competitive private forces within education, at least in the public sectors of education, right? That was the point. Like tying like educational attainment to test score, or like not funding to test scores to educational attainment is fucking terrible. You're essentially trying to marketize the education system. And it's been a complete disaster for public schools, especially if they have to mostly get their funds through property taxes, for fuck's sake. Like they're like most public schools are completely cooked as a result of this, thus causing, well, problems in the public education system, and people as a result becoming more stupid, incapable of critical thinking, death of subjectivity. All of these factors make it such that language now all of a sudden basically means nothing, right? Because people just like react to their sort of environment and are just like, oh yeah, well, you know, I like think this thing because like I saw like the TikTok of how this term was being used, and you know, that's just how I kind of use it then. And do most people sort of like look up the history and etymology of these terms? No, they don't. They don't look it up. They don't because they don't really care. They just adopt it immediately into their vocabulary and start using it, right? And you know, I like, you know, we'll do a little bit of like the racism meme here or some shit, right? Like this is a very fucking white people thing, okay? Like what? Most terms are made by like queer black people, and then they go to black women and they start using the term, and then it's black men that start using the term, and then it gets to queer white people, and then it gets the rest of white people. And then, well, just like that, a term, generally speaking, becomes ruined as a result, and will very often just lose all fucking meaning. We'll do the fucking meme. Whatever, I don't give a shit. Because I do think that is a, well, product. Or not a product, an outcome that happens very, very often. There's like, with like woke especially, that's certainly what fucking happened, right? A term that's lost any fucking meaning. It can mean like, I don't know, shit up a river for all you fucking care or some shit. Like, it means basically nothing here. And it, like I said before, like, death of critical education or critical thinking, education, and subjectivity are the main reasons for as to why like a lot of this stuff has happened. People are more and more so fundamentally incurious to sort of learn about like what these terms mean, like learn their etymology, learn a little bit about their history, because you know, Google's right there, you can do it. For like all the meme about people constantly saying like, you know, you have like a fucking computer in your pocket at all times. You have access to like one of the greatest encyclopedic machines and tools ever created. People seem to really not use them very often, or seem to just use them to like reaffirm their fucking particular biases. But I think that's more so a byproduct and consequence of the general broader commodified world that we sort of find ourselves under. I hope like what I'm rambling about here sort of makes sense. I have like a very big problem about these sort of like, you know, the death of like a lot of differing sort of human interaction and sort of human concepts, sort of like thanks to, you know, hyper commodification. You know, that's another page that I'm taking out of you know, Mark Fisher's book right there. You know, that's capitalist realism right there. Like hyper commodification makes it such that so many like concepts and things like products and even like necessary amenities in order to be able to live just die and just become like perverted in order to sort of like serve the sort of annals of fucking capital. And it's just like, well, that's great, that's cool. This is a term that basically just means nothing, doesn't matter, and it's like it's one of those situations like, meh, who cares, you know? Who gives a shit about any of this stuff? Just say like whatever, do whatever. Like I've said this meme before. Like, you know, it's just like, yeah, who cares? Just say whatever, do whatever, just say words. Nothing means anything, and it's just like, and it's just like, cool, great, fantastic, and you know, it's just a lot of like byproducts of like capitalist realism sort of stuff, and some of the other concepts that I've mentioned, death of subjectivity, critical thinking, and education that has happened throughout like the past 40 years within the United States of America. It's a very like sort of contemporary like rant that I'm kind of having here, and like philosophy, I suppose, that I'm like sort of like laying out here. You know, I don't really think I have much else to say besides like, yeah, conservatives are very good at like killing language and making things mean nothing in order to just, I don't know, be able to push certain like political projects and thoughts and beliefs onto, I'll be quite honest, a roving band of like just the lumpen proletariat who barely seem to fucking understand, like, I don't know, how to tie their own shoes in the morning, or how to even like do like what 2 plus 2 is now seemingly, or some shit. I don't know. That's really all I got to say about that, I think.